Welcome, everybody. This is podcast number 2. And we're here with Mr. Zazoo, our guest on the Science of Intentional Creation series. My partner, Kalyn, has been bringing through guidance from non-physical friends for over 14 years. One evening about a year ago, her demeanor suddenly changed, and speaking in a powerful voice, she said, "What would you do if you were given the secret keys to unlock the universe?" As the conversation unfolded, I soon realized I was speaking with an incredibly intelligent and intentful being we began calling Zazoo. One day, I asked Zazoo if he would be willing to share his universal wisdom with a larger audience. In his humorous yet always intentful manner, he agreed, and here we are. Hello, Zazoo.
Greetings.
Last week, we started talking about the science of intentional creation in the context of the law of attraction, and we touched upon intent, and we also touched upon an important piece that we call living by the law of self. And it's a big piece, and it takes a little while for us humans to grok sometimes, but I thought maybe that would be a good topic to circle around and hone in on as we get started. But thank you for coming.
Well, my friend and my future friends that are listening, I say that because I like having conversations, exchanging thoughts, because it is not everywhere in creation that you can do that. That is something that is almost unique only to your life system, which I call your experiential life system. I want to start by telling you something that you might be able to recognize. We'll come around to the law of self, which is a deeper law to live by. But first I want to bring your attention to something that, if most of you are understanding and trying to live according to the law of attraction, might be very good for you to become aware of. Many of you walk around apologizing in an apologetic way. Apologizing for yourself, for what you are doing, for not showing up the way really you think that you are supposed to show up. It's like you feel like you are showing up short somehow. Not something enough. Perhaps you're not pretty enough, perhaps you're not smart enough, whatever it is, not prepared enough, so on and so forth. Now, it's possible that this will ring more of a bell for you, so to speak, if I were to say to you that when it comes right down to it, anyone who has done some work with trying to attract something that they want to attract using the law of attraction, a lot of people find that they feel undeserving. And if you have that feeling of being undeserving, which is rather common, you can begin to get a good idea that you would therefore be somewhat apologetic in your stance, in your being, in your energy. And that cannot help but bleed into how you carry yourself, your stance, what you say and how you say it. So that, you see, when you listen to my voice, you can get a good sense that I am very self-assured. That's because I know myself inside and out, and I'm very intentful. There is really nothing but me in everything I am and everything I do. Whereas with a lot of people, you get a wobble, a sense of doubt, a sense of a lack of security or insecurity, and a presence that just isn't quite present. Very, very common. And I say to you, what do you think law of attraction does with that? Because you can probably get a sense from my voice alone that I do a pretty good job of explaining experiencing what I prefer. Now, I am not in body. I am not having a life like you are. I am coming through a channel, but energetically, in energetic worlds, I certainly am having the experiences that I prefer, which is a different conversation, because out of body it's a little easier than it is for you in body, but you get a good sense. And the point is how it relates to you and how it can help you. Now, I want to point out that there are those people among you that show up in false confidence or great confidence. And those are the people that most of you listen to. Those are the people most of you automatically respect. Those are the people you automatically say yes to. You want to say yes to them. You are almost waiting for them to ask you something so that you can say yes and help them with whatever it is that they are after. Because at a level it is pleasing to you. And the reason it is pleasing to you is because you are happy to be around someone that has more of that confidence and more of that presence. Someone who has something you do not. If you have the place of apologizing for yourself, the place of not feeling that you are deserving, then you are always itching to be with someone who is deserving. You are always happy to connect and have a conversation with someone who is not apologizing, but rather is stating themselves and their presence. And you will find that if you like me, that is a great deal of what you like about me and why you are my friend. And I say I'm very happy to have friends. So, I'm very happy to have you as a friend. And I'm happy to help you be more of who it is that you are. Given all of this, when you are in this place of being more of yourself, getting over the apology and getting into being certain that you are worthy, fun, you are a good companion, you are a great person to be around, who wouldn't want to be your friend and who wouldn't want to spend time with you. When you start to feel that way, you are starting to get deeper into yourself. Now, I grant you that you will say that yes, that's still law of attraction. Law of attraction will still bring me something better when I'm in myself, the way you are describing. But I say to you, the law of self trumps the law of attraction, because the law of self is who and what you are at your core energetically. You would say from your toes to your bones or something like that. But now think of it from your physical self to your energetic atoms or elements, whatever you want, the fabric of what you are. And when it is that you are abiding by yourself, you begin to bypass things like your karmatic energy. Perhaps karma would be a good topic for a future podcast. Today I will just say, depending on how you define karma, doesn't matter. In any case, the idea is that each person has their own karma, and that karma determines a certain part of their life, a certain energy that they are working with and dealing with. And when you put that karmatic energy, I don't care if it's because you think you were a worm or a king in your last life, or if it's because you recognize that there is just karmatic energy that each one of you takes on. When you put that factor into an equation, now we are talking about the law of attraction and it bringing back to you or reflecting your energy. We are talking about your energy based upon what you think, do, and say, but now we have to add a third element of your karmatic energy. And you have to start to ask yourself, is this accurate? Is there such a thing? Because I've heard about it a lot, haven't you? And if so, what is my karmatic energy? When does it come out? What does it do? How does it affect my life? What does it do when it interacts with the law of self? How do I interact with it? Because now, you see, now we have gotten a little more realistic and looked at more than just the law of attraction and just the idea that if you conjure up a great thought, the law of attraction is going to bring it back. Because I say to you, I know you have conjured up many great thoughts. I know you have stirred great emotions. Have you ever had the thought that once you had the highest high of having fallen madly in love, after that energy, shouldn't the rest of your life, according to law of attraction, be nothing but sunrises, sunsets, and wine on the beach? In other words, once you've had a meditation that has been the greatest meditation you've ever reached, if law of attraction was going to bring that back, wouldn't you stay in those realms? You have very high meditation. You have a fantastic love affair. And law of attraction brings back a very high energy, a very loving energy. At that point, you would feel very high again, very loving again. At that point, law of attraction would bring back very high, very much love again. And you would feel it again. Wouldn't that become a cycle going back and forth like a ping pong ball that you couldn't really come down from? And yet that's not what happens. Haven't you ever wondered about that? You have the greatest week of your life and then everything comes crashing down. Why? Law of attraction says if you have the greatest week, the next week should be the greatest. If you have the greatest day, the next day should be the greatest. And yet, there is something else at play. And so, for my friends who want to really be able to live the life they prefer, to be all that they know themselves to be, they are wise to begin to say, no, there's something else at play. And I say to you that something else at play is really the law of self. Your law of self, or the universal, I should say the universal law of self, says that your energy, that you call the shot, that you trump the law of form. And that when you do things of yourself, everything changes. When you do things that are adding to who you authentically are, when you do things that are raising your karmatic energy, when you do things that are self-loving, that are adding to the love in your life, and again, when you're doing things of yourself, you have to go a little deeper into who you authentically are to be doing things of yourself. Then, the law of self basically says that you are going to have quite a different experience. You're going to have the sort of experience that reflects more of who you know yourself to be. I was once talking with my friend here, Mr. Chris, and I said to him, the first causality in the universe is to know thyself. You are here to know yourself. The second would be a better than the golden rule, because the golden rule doesn't take your karmatic energy into account. The second causality would be treat yourself the way you want others to treat you. And if you think about it in a law of attraction sort of way, that makes more sense. And this is because you are the driver of your own car. If you are all of life, you are the driver. You are the one taking you places. You are the one determining what your car is like, what speed it goes, and where it is going. And within that, therefore, when you treat yourself as the you, as the car, the others treat you the same way. When you instead constantly monitor other things, well, you get other people's opinions, other people's great wisdom or lack thereof about how you should do things, when you should do things, why you should do things, and you are truly left astray. When you do things according to you, you change everything. You tap into your deep universal wisdom. And I don't like the word source. I don't like to say that you have a source, because you are your source. But I will say that for your understanding, you tap into what you would call your source and its wisdom. You tap into everything that you are in your source. And then you are not just driving a little sedan, but rather a speedster, because you have the power and the speed of all of the universe backing you up. That is living by the law of self. That's my definition. Taking all that great cosmic power that you are and honing it into the ittle living space of your body. That's from a movie that she saw. I really like that. It's the movie Aladdin. It's a cartoon movie. The genie says, great cosmic power, ittle living space. Well, the law of self would be living and utilizing and being that great cosmic power, because you don't want to just be a man or a woman walking around with the limitation of a monkey, if I dare say. In other words, you don't want to be limited with just what you can physically do. You want to go beyond that, and you want to have that great cosmic power. You want to attract what you want to attract. You want to be who you want to be. You want to have it all as you are meant to. And that is what the law of self will yield to you. And that comes when you stop apologizing for yourself and you start being the great cosmic power that you are. Now, I liked that. That was the best conversation on the law of self we have had. Do you want to add to that? Do you want to have anything focused upon in there? Anything to specialize in?
Well, I think coming from a person who's...
A great cosmic power?
Yes, cosmic power. How would it, when a person first hears, it's much more than a concept, but just say for another concept of the law of self, it's hard for people to grok the first time, because it all sounds great, but what is it? How do you do it? The question that humans always want is, what is the law? What do I do to live by the law of self?
All right. Heaven forbid you should tap into that great cosmic. You have to know how, of course. All right. My friend, I say that the very first most important thing my future friends, because as I'm recording it now, you haven't heard it yet. So when you're listening to this, you can be my friend. But for me right now, you're my future friend, since I am in time right now. As my friends are listening, the first thing that would be one of the most important things they can do is to change their mind, is to say, that's right, I have had some highs in my life, that the law of attraction should take that energy and something should happen. That's right. Law of attraction hasn't always worked for me. There is something else going on, because the minute they start to doubt, and the minute they start to recognize that there's something more going on, that's the minute you start to seek out something different. That's the minute you start to say, I want more. I want the answer. I want to drive my own Ferrari. And forget the sedan. There's something wrong with this sedan picture, or whatever it is that it is for you. Maybe you want a different house. Maybe you want a different spouse. That even rhymed. Now, my point is, the minute you start to doubt it, you set yourself on a course that has basically said, I am not willing to accept things as they are, because they are not quite working. I am holding everything to a higher level because I'm worthy of a higher level. And right there, you begin to change things, because right there, you have to stop a set of apologies. You instead say, I'm not apologizing, I'm saying I deserve more. That alone starts to tap you into that law of self. Now, it's a knock on the door, shall I say. And I understand that you have a ways to go, and we can be very clear about that. But that would be the first step. The second step is that For some, this is so easy, and for some, this is still such a difficult mold to break. The next step is to start to ignore. Maybe that's a little too much for people. Start to question. Start to ponder. What would be a greater truth for me to live by than what I believe is how I'm supposed to live, how it is supposed to be. You all are filled with so many ideas, which is just an interesting thing, and I question whether or not to say anything, but I'm going to. Those of us that are watching, because there are many watching, all of you people, those of us that are watching from out of body, we see that you have so many gifts, such as the gift of a thought. And I understand that you may not understand why it is a gift, because it is commonplace to you. You aren't born with thoughts, but by the time you are listening to me, you are so accustomed to thoughts that you think they're as common as your breath, and they're not. They are gifts. But you are so accustomed to thoughts, and we look at this, and we say they have so many gifts. No wonder there are those of us who come and choose to go into body, not I. There are so many things to be pleased by, to enjoy. Your thoughts is one of them. Your ability to focus on something and take it deeper. Think about it, learn about it, go into it, be it, develop it, recreate it. You have such a gift there. And then we sort of shake our heads in question, in something similar to curiosity or an absolute confusion. Sort of going, why would they fill their heads with all these ideas that aren't even theirs? Thoughts about what sort of life you're supposed to lead, what sort of clothes you're supposed to wear. That's a good one. Everything. What sort of friends you're supposed to, what you're supposed to say, what your friend is supposed to think about you, what you're supposed to think about your friend. It is like the Library of Congress. You have this great inventory, and you all even have sorting, ways to sort the ideas. So that if there's a new idea, you know exactly where to put it in your Library of Congress of ideas that is in your head. And I'm saying to you, why not dispel with this Library of Congress of ideas that aren't necessarily yours? They aren't of you. They were dictated to you, given to you, told to you, assigned to you, all sorts of things like that. Your parents told you, your upbringing told you, your school told you, the news tells you. Why not redefine that? Stop taking up real estate, energetic real estate, with this Library of Congress about how your life should be, because you would be surprised. I say Library of Congress, you think I'm grossly exaggerating, and I'm not. People have that many beliefs about how things should be. Why not have instead a reclaiming of your own energy? Reclaim that energetic space, and instead start to say to you, how should my life be of me? What should I be doing of me? What does the deeper me feel authentically? How should my life be? What should I be doing authentically? How do I really feel about my friends? There are some of you who have friends that you don't really like. It's not uncommon. And it's one thing to have acquaintances you don't really like. Sure, be cordial, be friendly, but some of you have good friends you don't really like. Some of you, of course, you're much better at this. This was not true 50 years ago. Many of you now go, I have a job I don't really like. And a lot of you are waking up and saying, you know something, that's not of me. I want to have my dream job. As well, you should be thinking, you should be feeling. And I am not saying that you can instantly bring that about. If you aren't living by the laws of self, it's going to take you some time. You need to have your life be of self, and then you won't be surprised when one day you have a great job and you have great friends. But my point to you is, if you have a Library of Congress filled with someone else's ideas and beliefs about how your life should be, that's the life you're living. And that's what law of attraction is abiding by. And I'm saying to you, bypass law of attraction, look at that library, define the library by yourself, create a new library of yourself, and then you are going to be living with the universe behind you an amazing small set of ideas. Because who you are is not that complicated. What you desire is fluid, and it shifts and it changes. But whatever you say you desire is fine. It doesn't have to change now. My point is, it changes when you change. So it doesn't have to be a stagnant idea in your library sort of thing. You don't need that much because you are this fountain of youth. All you need is a fountain. You don't need a library. This fountain of never-ending change, never-ending wisdom, never-ending cosmic power. When you come of you, you are living by the law of self, and you will have that fountain. And from there, you will find that everything changes and things line up. And you don't have to seek out that dream job. That dream job finds you. Or there's a few and you have to choose, and now you're left with the difficulty of having to choose between a couple of great things. So, my friends, step number 1, notice, question, where you're going, the law of attraction doesn't quite work. There's something else going on here. Number 2, put a fountain where you used to have a library. Have your life be of you. Make sure you're not walking around married to someone else's idea of who you should be married to, going to someone else's job, the perfect job. Maybe you are chasing the Jones, as they say. Well, are you Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones? Because if you're not, go be you. Find that fountain. Start to ask yourself, how should my life be? How do I really feel? There's a great question. How do I really feel? How do I authentically feel about my bed, about my toothbrush, about my house, about my car, about what I'm eating, about who I'm seeing, about the clothes I'm wearing? If you question all of these things, you become liberated, because you find that when you are choosing the things you greatly prefer, they are pleasing. And when you are pleased, you are living by the law of self, and the energy of being pleased with your life is very highly vibrating, and law of attraction then assists you in the law of self. So now you have the law of attraction assisting you in your cosmic self, with the universe behind you, because you aren't just the personality, you are you and your source, which I don't like to separate at all. You are that cosmic being. Now everything's working for you. Is that good for giving them something to follow, to do?
I think that's great. We're running toward the end of our time here, but it's such a big topic, and part of what you're saying that I think is related to this is that it's all about really monitoring what you're calling your cosmic self versus monitoring form. Instead of letting form and other people dictate your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and actions and decisions, always put self first, that cosmic part of self. But that takes awareness, that takes...
It does. It takes your choice and your diligence to be faithful to yourself. That's the only thing you can really be faithful to. Because when you're faithful to yourself, you're going to love everything else. You can't help but be true to everything else. But I agree, my friend. Many of you spend quite the journey learning what everyone else thinks you're supposed to be, and then it's a journey back home to what you authentically are, and it does require that dedication. Initially, because at some point, it seems silly. At some point, you are what you are, and you can't imagine how you were ever pretending to be something else.
Well, thank you, Zazoo. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Next Monday, we'll be doing episode number 3. And Zazoo, thank you very much.
Goodbye, my friends. Until next time.
And here's to honoring self.